Hello, my name is AnnickMagac. I am the author of Clear, How to Simplify Your Life and Live More Fearlessly. I'm also a coach and a motivational speaker. And tonight I wanted to talk to you guys about sales and marketing. So my background is in sales and marketing and design. I actually came from a totally different industry and I'm now an entrepreneur. But in the past, what I did for work is I did sales and marketing, and I was a sales manager for different companies in design and in solar. And oh, thanks. I just changing up the background. Been working on it, so I love the feedback. Thank you. And I'll try to get in another capacity because, like I said, I got kind of get my forehead cut off, and when you got a bigger forehead, you can lose some real estate up here. I want to talk to you guys about sales and marketing because it's a little bit off topic for me, and I want to share my knowledge and my experience with this. I was having a conversation recently with my fellow entrepreneurs about sales, and people really, sales, when you say the word sales, salesperson, and I hope that some of you who are actually in this and watching this scope, I hope that some of you are actually salespeople by trade, because I really want you to weigh in on this. Now, sales has, all right, hold on, thank you for the feedback. This would be better if I'm like up like this, right? But then I feel like I'm maybe a little bit older and zoom out. All right, hold on, people, bear with me as I try this. So, all right, hold on. All right, I kind of got a funny thing. Okay, no, it's worse. All right, sorry you guys have to watch me do this while I try to figure it out. All right, we'll do this. I'll do this. I'll stay at this kind of weird angle. Okay, is that better? Let me know if that works. Thumbs up, thumbs down. To get hands on the... Nobody's commenting, so I'm just assuming it's going to work. All right, so sales and marketing has a dirty aura around it. People are always like, okay, I have my... Thank you. People always let me know that... Okay, I'm gonna roll with this, and then the next scope I do, I'll change it up a little bit. All right, so people always say that they don't want to do sales because they don't want to come off as being salesy, and that it has this negative connotation because everybody at some point in their life has dealt with a bad salesperson, somebody who is really annoying, really aggressive, and so they don't themselves want to be associated with being a bad salesperson. And they also just feel uncomfortable doing sales or the idea of sales. Now, way back when I started doing sales, I was in my early 20s, and I had a good friend of mine. Her name is Sophie Veronica Hudson. She's also a serial entrepreneur, and she owns an awesome business right now called Swoon, which is in Kansas City, and they make custom cookies. So check her out. And years ago, we were starting off and getting into sales out of college. We had a whole long conversation, which I still remember to this day. And Sophie is a Midwest, born and raised, and I'm East Coast, and we were living in New York City at the time. And one thing that we were discussing was that as we were getting into sales, because we understood that in design sales, it could be a quite lucrative career. And it also meant that if you're doing sales in design, you were probably working for a company that put you around really nice and great, beautiful design, which is what our backgrounds were in. So we had this whole conversation about how we just were not, we wanted to learn how to do sales, but we weren't really, and mind you, we were just out of college. We didn't really know what we wanted to get into, and we had these like negative connotations about it. And I remember Sophie and I talking about how really when it comes down to is that both of us, and we agreed on this, was that we just really want to forge relationships with people. And that has always been my motto about sales from the beginning to now and forever. And I can tell you that I've had great success in sales, and it has to do with building relationships. With building relationships, it's also remaining with your integrity, because if you are coming across in sales as not being, and I hate using this word authentic, and I have scoped about this before, I think authenticity is an overused word right now, but it does have merit. And when it comes to sales is that when you are not selling from your heart and you don't have a connection. So say you're working for a company that you don't really like, and say you don't really like your boss, you don't really believe in the product, you're never going to do well because you're never going to align with that product or feel like you should be selling it. So even though you think in the front you've got this facade on your face and you're like, I love what I do and I love what I sell and this is great, you are actually, okay, good, I'm glad this is resonating. The only way I know if it's resonating is when you guys comment or you like the hearts or put the hearts up. So thank you, that's my indication here. And of course, if you like also what you're hearing, to swipe left or right, up and down to share, to invite other people in. So this is especially important. The point that I'm making is that when you are an entrepreneur or you own your own business, whether that is a local laundromat, a car dealership, whatever capacity it is that you own a business, if you don't truly believe in the message that you are sharing, you'll never come across as with integrity. And people don't like to buy from people that they don't trust. And so you're probably thinking like, okay, like, well, what's the best way for me to be enthusiastic or to actually feel like, well, I would oftentimes agree with this, and I want to make a big point about, so somebody posted a comment that says sales management doesn't, I'm going to paraphrase, sales management doesn't always want you to promote with integrity, right? So their bottom line is, if you're going to work for a company, their bottom line is money. And most salespeople are driven by their bonuses. If you really get into doing sales and you're in a sales structure with sales management or you're a field rep for a company, it comes down to the bonus. Like oftentimes you might have a base pay, but most of the time you don't necessarily have a base pay. You might have where you get paid up front and then you got to make the money back and then get a bonus on top of it. So what motivates any salesperson, of course, is going to be getting the bonus. Now, some people will go to pretty ridiculous extremes to make their bonuses or try to cut corners or be lazy about it. And some people can just get comfortable in their sales position because they already have had the connections for a long time. Now, what I want to make a point about this is when I get into it's about the relationships, is that if you don't love your job and you don't love the company that you're working for, then your sales are never going to be all that good. You can fake it for a while, but you're going to end up having a bad year where it's just not going to work. Now, if you have a bad year, oftentimes you can call on those relationships. Like sometimes an industry might just dive and you're kind of caught in that without it really being about you or your sales techniques. But if you have the relationships, you can often kind of offset that downturn by kind of calling in some favors with your relationships. And I want to get into this and say that it doesn't, what I'm suggesting doesn't mean that that's something bad ethically. It actually means that you're really good at what you're doing, which is connecting with people. And so I always enjoyed sales a lot, and I loved working with my sales reps as a manager because I love sales. Like if you really get down to it, and I keep saying that it was about the relationships, it was about me going out and being with my sales reps, developing a relationship with them, and then in turn, developing a relationship with the distributors, the managers, the owners of companies. And I had a great time doing it because I genuinely was excited to see the people that I was working with. I was excited about developing new relationships with different people out there. Let's see what you say. It's not producing the reality. Okay, you'll have a target on it. Well, yes and no. And so I think I'm going to make a point of that you just brought up, and that a lot of that has to do with whether or not you actually love your job. And I cannot say that enough because I have been in situations where I have absolutely hated the company I've worked for. And when you don't like what you're working for and what you're doing, and this kind of goes into my mindset in my coaching, is that if you don't love the place that you're at, there's going to be a lot of things that come up that are going to stop you from being successful. In sales, that's especially important because if you're not supported with the environment that you do not love, then you will not see the success that you want. So you're going to find fault with your own performance, but oftentimes what you're really going to find problems with is with management, with the support from the company, meaning like as a sales rep, are they giving you all the tools that you need? And you're going to say, no, they don't do this for me. And so there's a difference between really what your background is as in, do you really like what you're doing? And okay. And I totally understand that. And so for that kind of situation where where you feel like the management, if there's any issue with management, let's just put it down this way. If you work for a company and there's any issue with management, it probably means that unless you can get promoted to be that manager and replace that manager, if that's not a situation that can be applicable, then most likely you need to leave that job. As a entrepreneur, and if somebody, like if owning a company, say that I don't have a ton of employees, but if I had a company with employees, one of the first things that I would look for, and I think that this is, and I would give this to anybody who's a manager, is that if you see an employee is unhappy, to have that conversation up front and say, is this, before even firing them and letting them go, is having a performance review and saying, do you really want to be here? Oftentimes we all stay in jobs, and I know everybody's done it. I've done it multiple times where I've stayed in a job longer than I should have because I needed the money. I felt like if I stayed in the position long enough, I would get the promotion that I thought I needed or that I might have. The reality is that the way things work now in corporations and how high turnover is, you are not guaranteed that any position that you thought you're going to go for is going to be available in a year, because things change and companies change, and you got to be flexible with that. So I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I want to get back to the sales and integrity and kind of stay there today with this scope. And that is that if you can sell from your heart and sell with enthusiasm and honestly sell a product, even yourself, and this goes for, again, for entrepreneurs, for anybody that's in, I'm actively job. So, all right, awesome, good. And I wish you luck in that, because I know that it is hard to change jobs and look for it, but believe me, it's always worth it, because as they say, as one door closes, another opens, and sometimes we got to create our own opportunities, right? So again, in sales, I recommend sell with your heart and find something that you love about that job that will make you a better salesperson and will also increase your sales. And again, if you can align it with your values and your integrity, you're only going to be that much better for yourself, for your company, and in the end, hopefully for your bonus, which is really, again, what everybody is going for if you're in a sales job. So I'm going to try to keep it on the shorter side. And if you have any questions for me, yeah, exactly. We don't want to go there. If you have any questions for me, please email me, info@AnnickMagac.com. You can also find me on social media across all boards by my name, AnnickMagac, ANNICKMAGAC. And